Okay. Hello, everybody. Good evening. Okay, so we're gonna be doing things a little bit limited tonight. And when I say limited, I mean there's no intro video and there's no intermission video. There's probably gonna be no end credits because for some reason, reasons only known to Microsoft, I was an idiot and said, "Oh, last night, I'm just doing some things around here, and I'm writing myself notes down. I'm getting my week all planned out. Everything, my due diligence." Sunday night is essentially already Monday morning for me. I like burning the midnight oil and just working. And one of the things I saw was that there was an update for my computer, a Windows 11 update. So, okay, well, how special would that be for Frank to wake up the next morning and have a fully updated, all the best of the best, all the most fresh everything. But, what is usually not told to you in the fine print, if there is even print anymore, is that obscure settings are going to be completely changed. Obscure settings that is going to make things that were just commonplace and where they must be the day before not that way anymore. That's just what it is. I've checked all my audio sources, the outputs, the inputs, the monitoring, everything. And I can't play any kind of media that is, at least I can't hear it. And it's not registering over here. So we're just going to be doing bare bones, and I can get some music coming in through the Chrome. That's fine. But OBS itself and all of the bells and whistles that give the show a little bit more, production value and structure, well, that'll have to go kick rocks. So welcome to January 6th, 2025. It's certification day, as they say. It's the Epiphany. It's Little Christmas. So this is the last night that the tree is going to be lit up over here, and I'm sure that we'll be able to, take it all down. Most all the other decorations around the house have been taken down. This will be the last night that all of the decorations on the front yard will be illuminated. I'll turn off the light schedule. After 11:30, it'll be off, and that'll just stay off until next November. Oh, I'm gonna miss it. It brings such peace. There's such finality to bringing down the Christmas tree and all that other stuff. I know many of you out there have the real trees. Well, not I. So it's like you're bringing a friend down into the dragging a friend down into the basement to lock them away for 11 months. Thank you. No. Sorry. Yes. Sorry. Shut up. Struggling to go into the box, fighting. Please don't do this to me, Frank. Get into the box. I don't want to do this. Please make this easier for me. I think we got a bag. Bags suck, though, because you can't stack them as easy. You got to put them on top of things. We'll see. That's another thing. But if you're going to wonder where the intro video is tonight, and it's just gone. As a possibility, at least. And I'll do some troubleshooting tomorrow, and I'm sure that'll go nowhere. All right. So what are we going to have on the agenda tonight? Thankfully, I did a test call with John Carroll at 7:57. I said, yo, quick, call the Zoom real quick. I want to make sure that I at least get audio from you because we have a second half guest in the form of Cheryl Daley. She was on the show months ago. She's a friend of mine over here. I met her through Charlie Robinson, who is going to be on the show tomorrow night. Actually, Charlie Robinson is coming back. Did you know? I know I had the article set aside, but I don't think we ever got to it for some reason. And the Activist Post. Charlie Robinson is now the owner of the Activist Post. He owns his own news outlet, and one I've been reading articles from for years. So I can't wait to talk to him about that. That's it. That's Charlie Robinson's publication there, the Activist Post. it's got some legs. It's got some readership. At least it's got some years of skin in the game. So that'll be great to talk to Charlie tomorrow. But we've got Cheryl Daley on tonight with some New Year homeschooling pep talks and checklists and all that stuff. That'll be in the second half, which is going to correlate with some really, really interesting news that really backs up her line of work and all that stuff. She's from New York, so and I really look up to her for what she's doing upstate. I think she's somewhere in the Adirondacks. Anyhow, that's what we got going on. So thank you. That's what we have on the 6th. In the second half and the first half, we'll just go through some media. The certification of the Electoral College votes, that was today. So Kamala Harris is up there and counting and certifying everything. I want to take your calls because there's plenty of other things that happen over the weekend. Plenty of other things that happen. On January 8th, we got Matt Roski of Cultivate Elevate coming back on. And plans for the 9th and the 10th as well. So many topics that are bubbling. After the show ends tonight at 9 o'clock, we got the first session for Book Club 2025, Fahrenheit 451. And it's going to be a good one. I really can't wait. Film Club is next month. We'll do that on the third Monday of a Film Club month. And I think this month we're going to be watching Interstellar together. Well, I'll figure out a way where there can be a group viewing. But for the most part, as long as everybody has 3 weeks to watch one movie, that's what we'll do for now. Then when we really get moving and grooving, maybe in 2026, we can do a movie a week on a film club week. It's only a movie. Sounds easy, right? I barely watch movies anymore, so maybe it's not easy. Maybe once a month is good for now. All right. And I think that's all I have. Other than we're going to be dipping into the Quite Frankly Bulletin that came out today. It is, of course, out there for everybody to read. I posted it on Patreon, on Subscribestar, in your DMs. If you are a subscriber to the show, a monthly subscriber and supporter of the show through Pilled, it's in your DMs there. It's in Telegram. It's on GETTR. It's on Truth Social. It's on Twitter. I've put it everywhere except the community tab on YouTube. I got to do that, other little things, but it's in the description of this episode. So read the bulletin. Look at the effort again. We've got, I'm going to go through it with you, but it's some good stuff. We even have an article there from everybody's favorite, Rob Corrado. Nobody's seen him in a while, but he still contributed to this edition, and it was really refreshing to see. So I hope you enjoy that too. But we're going to get through that in a little bit right after the intro. That's not going to play. And now let's get into the grab bag. First one up, very unsettling news coming from MSN that everybody should take heed. Hold on, wait. Where the hell are we? There we go. Headline, queer people who are buying guns to prepare for Trump's America. Did you hear about this? There's a lot of heavily armed queers. Watch out for the heavily armed queers. Why are the queers arming themselves? On a brisk Saturday afternoon, the letter A, crouched in a boxer's stance, knees bent, one hip forward, raised her new Ruger Security .380 pistol aloft with both hands and pulled the trigger. Spent gold casings clinked to the ground as the paper played across the range filled with bullet holes. Next to her, a row of men in sweatshirts and earmuffs affably shot their own marks. A, the letter A, obviously being protected, who the Inquirer is identifying by the first letter of her first name because of safety concerns. From who? From who? Herself? If it's even a she? Is new to the world of shooting ranges and target practice as a trans woman. There you go. As usual, I only just take the headlines because I know that it'd probably be good for us to read this together. As a trans woman who lives in Philadelphia, she began seriously considering armed self-defense this summer. Good. Although, as you know, it's not good to put firearms into the hands of people who have really serious emotional issues. She saw Texas uphold a ban on gender-affirming care for minors. Okay, so you can't mutilate children. That's bad. That's bad. That made her scared. Him scared. In Florida, prohibit nurse practitioners from prescribing hormones to transgender people. I'm sure that's as blanketed as it was. She watched the increasing dread of Republicans spent $250 million on network ads portraying people like him as dangerous threat to the country. No, so frightened queer people are buying guns because of Trump's America is coming. Don't you understand that an election, whatever you want to take away from it, is not the be all end all? I mean, this is just, it's not coming. There's nothing to prepare for. It's already here. All right. This was if we get any, regardless of what we get out of this election after the next 4 years or whatever, is really secondary to the little glimpse into the mirror of what people are feeling about the weaponization of people's private lives. How people's private lives are politicized and used as cudgels to beat everybody else over the head with, and how those things are taken out of what should be private, highly sensitive situations where it's just people and their doctors trying to figure out what the hell's wrong with them, and turning them into faux civil rights causes that ensnare the most impressionable of minds and completely shatter their sense of self and self-image and take away their bearings before they're even fully formed, especially as a social unit. So anyway, it's just incredible. Zoe Greenberg is covering the case over there at the Philadelphia Inquirer. I'm sure she's going to make sure that we all know how things are going in Trump's America over the next couple of years. And speaking of frightened queers, Justin Trudeau. I was really hoping I could get through that one. Justin Trudeau, as Canadian's Prime Minister, well, that's not going to be for much longer. He has said he's resigning after nearly 10 years in office. He's going away. It's not going to keep up any for much longer. It's not going to keep up anymore. The rise and fall of Justin Trudeau as Canadian Prime Minister. There he is. The leader was once a poster boy for liberalism, but has now resigned after nearly 10 years in office. Oh, and now I have to register. There is now a, whatever. I don't know. After nearly 10 years at the country's helm, Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has resigned as the leader of the ruling Liberal Party. The latest crisis has been sparked by the sudden resignation of his finance minister, Chrystia Freeland, amid a dispute over how best to handle U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's threatened trade tariffs. I don't know. See, there was more here to read, but now a paywall has gone up, and I didn't have time to wash it through the archive site. Anyway, there's more than enough reasons over that 10 years that any self-respecting nation would want this. I don't know what you want me to call it. It's this creature, this strange freak who is just a willing servant, very, very willing. See him just, I don't know, on all fours, going from one place to the other, not really liked or accepted by any of his peers, just a real creep. And boy, with such a soft-spoken, dancing clown of a man, he did really enjoy coming down very hard on Canadian civilians during multiple moments of protest and any kind of expression of dissent for what it was clearly tyrannical government action during both lockdown and economic situations, whatever. So here's a little bit of the resignation announcement. And where the hell are we? Where the hell is it? Oh, here it is. Take a listen.
So last night over dinner, I told my kids about the decision that I'm sharing with you today. I intend to resign as party leader, as prime minister, after the party selects its next leader through a robust, nationwide, competitive process.
Yeah, and then he's going to go buy firearms and go hang out at the range with all of his trans friends, just to prepare for Trump's America and Canada, Trump's Canada.
Last night, I asked the president of the Liberal Party to begin that process. This country deserves a real choice in the next election, and it has become clear to me that if I'm having to fight internal battles, I cannot be the best option in that election.
You're never an option. You're just a weird, strange, quizzling drama club freak. Now you can go and hang out in your walk-in closet, put on your black face again, and do your Far Eastern dances and jigs and whatever the hell you do. Strange. So if you're Canadian, you want to call in tonight in the first half and let me know what this means to you and what everybody at home needs to know about what this is. Is this really about internal struggles over incoming Trump administration in the United States and the talk about tariffs after 10 years of skating into and out of trouble and just embarrassing himself on is this just the straw that broke the camel's back, or is it something much bigger than that? If you can call in and put it into a concise nutshell, that would be great. All right, so that's Justin Trudeau. The Congo, this is by way of CNN, so you know it's good. Congo will execute more than 170 people convicted of armed robbery. You hear about that? More than 170 inmates on death row were flown from Congo's capital to high-security prison in the north, where they will be executed. What a waste of perfectly good Uber drivers. Get them some visas and bring them to New York. Ridiculous. 70 of the convicts were transported on Sunday. Congolese Minister of Justice Constant Mutamba. He's Constant Mutamba. Added that 102 other prisoners who have already been sent to Anenga prison in the northern Mongala province. The men have been convicted of armed robbery and are locally known as Kalunas or urban bandits. They're the sticky bandits. They're aged between 18 and 35. Mutamba said in a statement he did not say when the executions would take place. Armed robbery. Is there anything else here? Some have welcomed the measure as a means of restoring order and security in the cities, while others are concerned about the risks of abuse and human rights violations. We welcome this decision by the minister because it will help put an end to urban crime. From 8 p.m. onwards, you cannot move around freely because you're afraid of running into a Kaluna, said Fiston Kaluli. Oh, Kakuli. Espoir Mukanuka, a human rights activist, warned of the possibility of extrajudicial executions and called for a strict respect for judicial procedures and fundamental guarantees. I just don't know. I don't see anything here about killing or whatever. Obviously, armed robbery. There's going to be there's an assault that's just baked into that. But man, coming down hard because the bandits are getting their heads cut off. So there you have it. In New York, we have something else that's going on. In New York City, that is, about 30 miles outside of where I am right now. Wish it was another 30 miles. But over the weekend, the MTA unveiled new regulatory tolls. It's the congestion pricing. Some people actually counted down for the unveiling of the congestion pricing signs in some parts of the city. Here it is right here. This one by way of End Wokeness. But I know our good friend Viral NYC News has been all over this too. This is something that actually deserves a little bit more thought And I don't know, because it's bad down there. Traffic is bad, very bad. So I don't know how you go about alleviating that in a metropolitan area. Forget about all the cultural issues. Just think practically. We build cities. We build towns and villages. Towns and villages turn into cities. That's just what it is. But what happens when you get to that point and you've got millions of people? It's like the 40th largest city in the world. Just like there's less than 9 million people living in New York City, but it is incredible. What I just experienced on the 27th of December for my mother's birthday was really, really taxing on the soul. But take a listen to this. They're unveiling this, the MTA is.
Are we ready? Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yay, it's a congestion relief zone. That means when your Easy Pass in your window, it's $9. $9. I guess that's just in like prime time driving time, and overnight it's $2.25 like cost to like cross certain streets. In fact, I have a little bit more over here from Leroy from Viral News NYC. Congestion pricing is now fully operational. Regular citizens will pay $9. Taxi cabs will pay 75 cents. Motorcycle will pay $4.50. Users will pay $1.50. Large trucks $21.60. Small trucks $14.40. Sources state the taxi and Uber lobbyists have pushed for this move. Do you think this is fair to lower and middle class New Yorkers? I mean, it's not, no. But on the other hand, that's where you live in this crowded rat's nest, and I can't fault anybody for trying to figure out how to make this any more of a feasible situation to be able to get from to travel 5 blocks in less than 45 minutes. It took me maybe about 40 minutes a block. It was so infuriating. It had broken down so much of my soul. I said, never again. Never coming here in the middle of December ever again. At least not to Midtown, nothing around here, no way. And but it's almost like with seatbelt laws there too. Although I think this is a little bit better than seatbelt laws where, your seatbelt is not on. We care about you so much, you got to pay us $50 right now. Bullshit. Ridiculous seatbelt laws are. So the whole aspect of how many millions, billions of dollars are going to be generated off of, charging people to cross the street is, that always offsets the nobility of trying to figure out what's going on with the traffic. But then again, how else do you have ideas? If you were running a city, let's say you were put in charge of a metropolitan city, and the only problem you had was dense traffic, what would you do? What would you do without using some kind of a financial penalty as a motivating factor for, less cars to come into a certain area during a certain time or whatever, or get more people to use public transit or whatever the hell it is. So it's always when, people are just raked over the coals and more money is taken out of their pockets and put into the hands of the government, local, state, all that stuff. Always find that, how convenient. They're fixing a problem, and they just happen to pick up a couple of $1 billion a month extra, too, along the way, for their trouble. So it's one of those things I wonder what people out there would do. There's a lot of crafty people, and this is forcing more people, to be honest, to get onto the train. That's the other thing. And with all the news coming out of the subways and stuff, you want to spend more time down there? Absolutely not. So That's just, there's no good options. There's absolutely no good options. All right. Well, I would have done an opening, but there's no reason to. It's 7:27. And I'm be the son of Sam. Hi, welcome, everybody. Good to see you all. I want to introduce you to the Quite Frankly Bulletin. Then we're going to take some calls on this and a few other things. I want to watch the short clip from the certification thing today. Go ahead and check it out. Just a little bit of a walkthrough over here. Really nice. A little bit of opening from here. This is my favorite part right here. Lauren's like, well, you want to write some kind of a forward for this, Frank? I said, yeah, sure, absolutely. And she said, well, we were going to take a picture. Lauren said, well, we were going to take a picture of us as a family going out on New Year's Eve to a small little restaurant down the street, but that didn't happen because I was in bed. I said, oh, that's simple. To get a picture of E.T. dying, and that'll be me. And that is what we have over here. And there's the caption underneath. As seen here, Lauren attends to Frank, New Year's Eve 2024. That was me. That was me at about 9:45 p.m. Last Tuesday night. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I've opened up the bulletin several times today just to look at that picture. I initially told her to get the picture of E.T. face down in the river with the raccoons crawling all over him, but she went and she picked this picture instead, and I'm glad she did. It's a lot funnier. Good pick. All right. Anyway, so I wrote a little something there. You can read it yourself. This one right here is from Rob. Stillness through movement. Longtime friend of the show and certified wellness professional Rob Corrado shares his expertise on balancing health, fitness in the new year. You got to check that out. Chris Ann Hall. We're going to do that. We're definitely going to read this one together, maybe even tonight. Charting the course for liberty in the new year. Now, the winter mix, I got to say, I had so much fun putting the Quite Frankly winter mix together on Spotify, the new playlist that's out there. Go ahead. Now we have just the overall. Yes? What's going on? What is this? What do you think you're doing?
On you.
So, you like when Daddy does his show from home?
Yeah.
I can tell. If Daddy was at the other studio tonight, what would you be doing?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Would you be sad?
Yep.
How sad would you be? Don't pull that.
Like this.
Oh, that's a sad face. And you would just be staring forward like that with that sad face on?
No, in the window. In the big window.
You'd be looking out the window with that sad face?
Yeah.
And you'd be what? You'd be waiting for me?
Yeah.
And what?
All night.
All night?
Yeah.
What happens if, like, Mommy says, oh, I'm sorry, Rory, you got to go to bed. Daddy's not home yet. What would you do then?
Nothing. Just not listen to Mom.
You got to listen to Mom.
I never listen to her.
I don't say that. Anyway, did you enjoy watching a little something before bed?
Yep.
Are you going to go take a bath tonight or no bath? Because we took one last night.
No bath, because guess what?
What?
I watched some things, a whale thing and a penguin thing. You have to see those. Those are really great.
What?
You see they in the morning.
What penguin?
It's the thing on my thing. I'll be right back.
Oh, all right.
Mama,
I don't know what penguin thing she's talking about. Anyway, we've got wonderful mixes now. And I already started building up the Quite Frankly spring fever mix and the summer mix. What's this?
The puffin. It's called a puffin.
Oh, yeah, that's the puffin.
Yeah. You saw it.
Yeah, and where do we get the puffins from?
Maine.
From Maine. Because the puffins hang out in Maine. Oh! She's squeezing my cheeks. Okay, tell everybody that you
Nothing.
You know, there's a lot of people that are having snow tonight, and tell them I hope that you're cozy and warm and have a great sleep.
Have a great sleep.
Okay. And tell everybody stay cozy.
Stay cozy tonight.
Okay.
Because I don't have a bed.
You don't have a bed?
No.
Where are you going to sleep?
Nowhere. Just sleep in the cold room, and that's outside.
Okay, well, have a good one.
Have a good.
Give Mommy a big squeeze for me.
Okay.
Okay, bye. Wait, your puffins. Okay. Oh, see you. Bye. So there is the winter mix you got to check out. I really, really like this one. And it's only going to get better and better, ladies and gentlemen. So, I don't know. There's Robin McCutcheon, The Pursuit of Happiness. She's got a wonderful spot in here. Oh, there's more. There's so much more. Tonight, Cheryl Daley, she's going to be on with us in the second half. John Carroll, Through the Great Filter and Beyond. That one is going to be a nice little topic of conversation, perhaps later on this week. And The Skeleton President and the Season of Chaos by Shane Cashman. I am so happy that Shane wrote this for the show. I can't wait until he comes back into New York so he can hang out with us at the studio again. It's been a while since we hung out with Shane, and there's just so much more. There's so much more. We've got a contribution from a listener of the show, Ed Hayward, the 100th conservative instead of the 100th monkey. And then what do you have? A little bit more, a little bit examination of what's going on in the skies above us with Krista Roman. You say you want a revolution? Well, Pluto enters its age of Aquarius until 2044. What could happen? So much. And that's all I have with you. There's Vintage Frankly, as usual, wonderful things. I really like these because we had some great shows last January with Matt from Cultivate Elevate, who'll be here this week. Tony Merkel, Jay Myers, when we were talking about Memories from the Mall. You know, that was last January when we did Memories from the Mall. And you know who never called me? And I told you. And I went over and I came back the next day. I was like, please, sir, get in touch with me somehow. What was the guy's name from Las Vegas? He called in and he had such an interesting story. And I said, please get in touch with me after the show. And he's like, I don't have email. I said, you've got a phone and you're listening and you're calling into an internet stream on the phone. How do you not have any digital contact? Anyway, I just prayed to God that he got in touch with me because I would have loved to interviewed him and learn more about his life. You remember the guy that called in? We got to go back to that. If you go into the bulletin and you go into the Frankly, Vintage Frankly, whoever goes into this section, do me a favor. Spend a night listening to the Memories from the Mall episode. Jay Myers made a short appearance that night, but it was mostly calls from people talking about their memories from the shopping malls and hanging out and, life in America when the shopping malls ruled the world. And there was a guy that called in. Tell me what his name was and anything that we can do so we can shout him out and get him to call in. Finally, we got to find him. There's a great call buried in there somewhere. Anywho, that's all I got. I'm gonna open up the lines. I'm going to open up the lines, 914-200-0269. And while we do that, I'm going to read a little something from Chris Ann Hall because it's not long, and I think that it's going to set a nice tone for the rest of the evening. 914-200-0269. As we begin this new year, let us light the flame of liberty in our hearts and face the challenges ahead with courage and determination. These are not ordinary times. They are moments that call for greatness, for standing firm, and for fighting for the liberty that is our birthright. We carry a legacy built on sacrifice and resolve, and it is our duty to protect it with everything we have. Mercy Otis Warren, one of the most respected founding women of America, reminds us how much strength is needed for such a cause. Quote, I have my fears. Yet, notwithstanding the complicated difficulties that rise before us, there is no receding. And I should blush if in any instance the weak passions of my sex should damp the fortitude, the patriotism, and the manly resolution of yours. Her bravery shows us that fear must not hold us back from fully committing to protect liberty. What we do now will echo for generations. Liberty is no ordinary treasure. It is the foundation of everything that we hold dear. The founders knew this and stood strong against tyranny, even when the odds were against them. The harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph, wrote Thomas Paine. Their sacrifices remind us that the rewards of freedom are worth every effort, and we must face our challenges with the same spirit. Liberty is not something we simply inherit. It is a responsibility we must act on, as Samuel Adams told us, quote, "The liberties of our country, the freedom of our civil constitution are worth defending at all hazards, and it is our duty to defend them against all attacks," he said. We must guard liberty as fiercely as a parent protects their children, because without it, everything else falls apart. Liberty is not a gift to be taken for granted. It is a treasure gifted to us by the author of that liberty, and it must be fiercely protected. Benjamin Franklin once said, quote, "I have lived, sir, a long time, and the longer I live, the more convincing proofs I see of this truth, that God governs in the affairs of men. And if a sparrow cannot fall to the ground without his notice, it is probable that an entire empire can rise. Is it probable that an empire can rise without his aid?" These words remind us that the liberty we cherish is not only a human endeavor, but one underpinned by divine providence. Every generation has the responsibility to safeguard this jewel with care and resolve. When liberty is threatened, we cannot stand by. We must face the threat head on, because once that freedom is lost, it's nearly impossible to regain. Joseph Warren's words challenge us even today. Our country is in danger, but not to be despaired of. On you depend the fortunes of America. You are to decide the important question on which rests the happiness and liberty of millions yet unborn. Act worthy of yourselves, he said. His message reminds us of the weight of our responsibility and the honor of our cause. Great challenges make great people, as Abigail Adams wisely said, quote, "These are the times in which a genius would wish to live. It is not the still calm of life or the repose of a Pacific station that greater characters are formed. The habits of a vigorous mind are formed in the contending with difficulties." Yeah. Yes. These are the times in which a genius would wish to live. Like I was saying before, if you were in control of a major metropolitan city, how would you fix the traffic? That's something a genius is like, "Hey, let me at it. I gotta solve this Rubik's Cube." Her words, Abigail Adams, inspire us to see hard times not as burdens, but as challenges to grow stronger and more committed. But we cannot rely on elected officials to save America for us. The founders did not fight for liberty so that we could hand over its defense to others. They showed us how to be the leaders of our country needs by standing firm in their belief and taking action. Liberty will only survive through our own courage and leadership. Let us look to the founders who believed that liberty was worth every hardship. Let us contemplate our forefathers and posterity and resolve to maintain the rights bequeathed to us from the former for the sake of the latter, said Samuel Adams. Instead of sitting down satisfied with small efforts, let us elevate our minds to the dignity of that glorious cause to which we are engaged, end quote. So as we move into this year, let us reject mediocrity and complacency. Let us rise to meet the moment, drawing strength from the sacrifices of those before us and committing to a future of freedom and justice. To fight for liberty is not something of the past. It is a living, breathing mission that demands all of our effort. So stand firm, lead by example, inspire others to join the cause. Together we can keep the torch of liberty burning bright for generations to come. That's Chris Ann Hall's contribution. She gave us a really wonderful pep talk in December as well. And now a little something to light the fires for 2025. Man, you know, all that's going on
delivered to the
when we're watching these certification votes come in, because you have to, again, we watch this movie. There's a little bit more curiosity, far more curiosity as to what could possibly be done over the next set of 4 years. Now that this little band is stepping aside and another band is coming on in, one that is pockmarked with dubious characters, but also just what if? What if? What if there's a couple of extra people out there that everybody wrote off that is actually on some sort of character arc to redemption? Who knows? What if? Where are we going from here? So we always got to balance out the movie, and also just keep in mind who we are and what we got to do. And I got to tell you, the memories from the mall shows, those are some of the most important conversations we have together on this show. Okay, I'm not out there, looking to fix the world, and I rarely have anything breaking over here. We are a congregation of people, and I think we have a lot of fun just navigating the waters and keeping our heads about us, because regardless of what's going on a couple hundred or a couple thousand miles away in one Capitol building or another, the real Capitol building in our lives is our home. Okay? The real Congress in our lives is our family, our close friends. Those are the people who we really, really have to hone in on. And those little networks are connected to other networks. And if that falls apart, then we're screwed. And it's so crazy. Tonight, when we do our opening, our opening session of Fahrenheit 451, it's nuts what's, again, the parallels here. Now, whenever you pick up something that is dystopian in nature, and we kind of have that confirmation bias, essentially, that where we are right now is less than optimal. It's something else when you start seeing just the real, the detail, everything between the lines that really speaks to us, especially the Clarice character in here, that I guess is in one way or another homeschooled, but she's outside of the school system, and she takes, I think it's on page 27. Yeah, there's a whole page on page 27 over here where she's describing what's happened to people, and why are kids, she's actually nervous around kids that she knows in her class because they're a lot more violent and volatile and all that stuff. And kids kill each other now, or they just feel like aloof. And my uncle told me that there was a time that didn't happen. And you just think about it, and it always comes down to, what is life like at home? What are your relationships like? It always comes down to that. If you got your anchors down in something like that, then you could deal with everything else. And we can all deal with that together. But you got to be anchored to something. You got to be tethered. And there's so many little tidbits in the book so far that just show that, once you get to that point where relationships are essentially non-existent, and, where the books are burning, the firemen are actually the people who are setting the fires, and all that stuff. It's nutty. It's nutty, but it's a reminder of what the most important thing is. The most important thing is, that's how we till the earth again, and we make it ready for new crop. Anyway, here is what was going on the movie set. Just a little bit of the certification. It's a 2-minute video, and take a look at it, since it's just documenting something that is historically significant today.
Delivered to the President of the Senate is as follows. The whole number of the electors appointed to vote for President of the United States is 538. Within that whole number, the majority is 270. The votes for President of the United States are as follows. Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 312 votes. Kamala D. Harris
I can't tell you how much I hate when these people congregate in this room. States of the Union, hate, can't stand it. This, I can't stand it. I can't stand the applause. I hate it. I wish there was more fist fighting. Then I would like it. That would be really good. Like people swinging canes at each other again.
Kamala D. Harris of the state of California has received 226 votes.
You did great, honey. You did good. Thank you, dear. Thanks, dear. You lost with style. You had integrity throughout. You stepped up when nobody else wanted to.
The whole number of electors appointed to vote for Vice President of the United States is 538. Within that whole number, votes.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, just get to this.
This announcement of the state of the vote by the President of the Senate shall be deemed a sufficient declaration of the persons elected, President and Vice President of the United States, each for a term beginning on the 20th day of January 2025, and shall be entered together with the list of the votes on the journals of the House and the Senate.
That's it. Now, I think it would be too much to ask the universe to spare us from any more of Kamala Harris and her squiggly voice, making any more speaking engagements. Thank you. Falling down a flight of stairs with the squiggly voices. Nobody was worse than Amy Klobuchar, another squiggly voice rec center lady. Get your squiggly voice out of here. What, he's a shit? Don't want to hear this? Get her out. Anyway, that was just the business at the office. And then we had some of the people in other areas that need to really ramp up their own little their act over here. I think this one was from the View. Sonny Hostin. This was incredible. Wanted to double down on the January 6th was worse than anything you could ever imagine again. Listen to this.
I think we need to find moral clarity, in this country. And I just remember after January 6th, you had someone like Mitch McConnell placing the blame on January 6th where it belonged, squarely on Donald Trump's shoulders. Mm-hmm. And then you started seeing people back.
Yeah, you start seeing people backtracking, including the media, because it wasn't Donald Trump's fault. There was no attack sign. The only attack signs that were being given on the ground were from people that the media were circling their wagons around for some reason and trying to prevent anybody from digging into who they were. So, but yeah, Mitch McConnell's a turkey gobbler bastard, a turtle without a shell, and nobody likes him, Sonny.
Backtrack that and losing their moral center. You had Condoleezza Rice, I believe, on this very show saying, we need to move on from January 6th. I say no. You don't move on because January 6th was an atrocity. It was one of the worst moments in American history.
No, it wasn't. You know what it is? I'm at the point where I actually wish it was as bad as they say it was. Because obviously it wasn't. Because at least I wouldn't have this unscratchable itch in my brain every time that someone makes a statement like this, where they know that they're lying, they know that they're exaggerating, they know they're obfuscating and gaslighting, that with impunity. That gives me an itch inside of my skull I can't scratch and it drives me crazy. To continue on with this messaging without any punishment, to broadcast messages like this every day, and it's just fine. I don't know. It's just nuts.
And when you think about the worst moments in American history, like World War II, things that happened, like the Holocaust, chattel slavery.
No, right? Yeah. Okay. No, this is great. Yeah, World War II. World War II was a terrible moment, wasn't it? Terrible moment World War II. You have 4 years, 56 million people that we can account for all around the world. It's just lives, generations of young boys, civilians, everybody. My gosh, this was worse than Dresden. This was as bad as Dresden, everybody. January 6th was as bad as just that one. You want to talk about a moment inside of World War II? The bombing of Dresden. Go ahead. Read into that one. And that's on us. That's on us. Incredible confidence that these retards speak with. World War II. Well, that was a terrible moment, wasn't it? Horrible. And then the Holocaust, which of course took place in Tennessee. Yes, the Holocaust. Notice Whoopi Goldberg staying far away from that one. She's been well schooled by ABC at this point. Not going to touch the Holocaust anymore. And you can't just not throw chattel slavery in there, which Sunny Hostin knows very, very, very intimately since her family was slave owners. We learned about that about a year or so ago. That was fun. But yeah, another horrible moment in American history. Another horrible moment, which was all matched by the mosh pit at the Capitol in 2021, wherein the only people who were murdered, the only people who lost their lives were those who were killed by feds. Okay? And then there was there's a stroke. Colitis. I have no clue. This is so ridiculous. I have nothing else for you on that. Some people are just going to live in this headspace forever, and they're going to work overtime to keep your great aunts and uncles there too. Hey, you want now that was a multimillionaire who's got a contract with a major broadcasting company, ABC, Disney. Then you have people like this. We check in on the Blue Anon types on TikTok and whatever. Here's just I don't know who he is, just a homeless guy, I guess. Just some random homeless guy on TikTok who does this for free. Just wants to let everybody know that Donald Trump is not going to be inaugurated because something's happening.
Trump coming out and calling for a rally with his supporters January 19th, one day before the inauguration. Why would you need to do that the day before you are supposedly being inaugurated the 47th president? He wants those people here in town for when it becomes even more evident than it already is that under 14th Amendment Section 3, he cannot be sworn in.
Right.
He's done. He knows it. He's known it for a while.
This guy he's done. He's known it. He's known it for a while. This is Blue Anon's Thomas Wichter over here. This is Blue Anon's Thomas Wichter. I can't look at the face. He's serious too. Look at the retard eyes. Retard nose. I got a big nose, but his nose is straight up retard nose. I don't know. Looks like some kind of a rejected Roman emperor or some kind of a consul. I don't know. Concubine. I have no clue. This is the guy that used to mop up the vomitorium after all the Saturnalia feasts. It makes no sense to me anymore. But there's a lot of people who are trying to make sense of the entire world, which is why I like where we're at. We've got the luxury of examining people like Elon Musk. Can this guy be trusted? Are we being hoodwinked? What's going on here? I mean, we're examining our own people. We always have been, because this side of the world, I mean, this is every part of this side of the equation, the shallow end of the pool, where everybody's just literally shitting all over themselves, peeing and shitting. It doesn't even matter. Like this guy over here, whatever the hell this guy is, wherever that world just is not even consequential at all. We are at least examining people in our own camp and wondering, trying to weigh out where the hell this is going to bring us and how much we're going to be able to benefit as a species, But wow, can you imagine living like this? Some people are. They're living like it. Well, moving on from that and like, keeping it in mind, I was looking at this on Yahoo, for example, and my question to you was, how much of what we're about to go into right now, what's non-negotiable for you? All right, what's non-negotiable? We got 4 minutes, so I'm just going to throw this out there real quick, because then I have to, I don't know, pretend I'm going to an intermission. You can call in if you'd like, 914-200-0269. But Trump weighs in on this in particular. Look, Trump weighs in on January 6th clemency, with Congress set to ratify his win. 4 years after the mob attacked the U.S. Capitol, which was less than a year after a real mob, who everybody that showed up, not however many people got in there, what, a couple hundred, 1,000 people out of the million that were in there, 750,000 to 1 million people that were in Washington, D.C. that day, that were agent provocateured by feds who were all over the place. Less than a year before that, in May of 2020, we had the White House campus that was attacked. And you're talking about dozens of Secret Service and feds that were being sent to the hospital, injuries, hospitalizations, firebombing of churches, all there. Never a second thought. They'll defer to things like, oh, it was all people from outside of the state. Who cares where they came from? That was most people who came to the Capitol on January 6th and 21. People coming in from all over for a rally that they hoped was going to be a prerequisite for a major reexamination of what that election really was, which was a fraud. But now they're talking about this. Trump's last gasp effort to overturn the election loss. The events of January 6, 2021 have evolved into a political and cultural flashpoint with little lasting damage to the president-elect. Yes, because most of us have broken free from the media rat race. At least enough of us. Enough of us. The attack faced bipartisan condemnation, but now he's coming in, and there are preparations being made, apparently, for swift clemency for about 1,000 plus people who've been convicted and hundreds more with pending cases. Any early action for January 6 pardons would set the tone for how he might wield the presidency to reward loyalists and critics fear punish opponents. By the way, that's what all the Medal of Freedom stuff is about. It's one thing to say this is all part of the pageantry that results in making the political hot potato actions of, what are you going to do? How's the public going to perceive what you're doing? This is why Joe Biden is out there putting Medal of Freedoms around killers, international influence peddlers, diddlers, whatever the hell it is. This is what it's all about. You just bestow, you have the media, and you have all the ability to bestow all these incredible honors onto people who are actual scum of the earth, scum-sucking bastards. And you put these trophies around their neck, and you praise them for being such good people. You're essentially daring the next person to come in and investigate them and lock them up. I just wish that there was somebody coming into office who had nothing else to lose, who is in the twilight years of his life and has no more political viability, no more re-elections to seek. I just wish there was somebody coming in who just wouldn't care or give a rip about what anybody else thinks and just go and pursue justice wherever the hell you find it. And stop protecting people like Hillary Clinton out of decency that they would never show you and haven't shown you. I just wish there was somebody in a prime position to do that kind of a thing. But regardless of whether we get our belly scratched in the most, in that way, that's one of the non-negotiable things for me. Get everybody out of jail who's in there because of January 6th, 2021. It's non-negotiable for me. And I know it's the same with you guys as well. That is 100%. Even if you agree, and I do, with throwing the book at whatever people out of those 1,500, 1,000 that are already in there, others who have trials pending or whatever, any subdivision of those people who engaged and can be, directly linked to property damage. You broke a window. You smashed this. Whatever the hell it is. Anybody at this point, realistic time served for something like that, it should be up for everybody anyway. So that's non-negotiable for me. All that has to be cleared off the docket. The second thing is Ukraine. For me, when we talk about what at least I'm really, really hoping that we get out of the big show, Here is a statement from Zelensky on Donald Trump, was released yesterday around 7 p.m. Take a listen to this.
It won't be long because Europe will be looking at us and will be looking at Trump. And by the way, I now see that when I talk about something with Donald Trump, whether we meet in person or we just have a call, all the European leaders always ask, how was it? This shows the influence of Donald Trump. And this has never happened before. With an American president, I tell you from my experience, this also gives you confidence, that he can stop this war. It won't be long.
Yeah, he can stop the war. I'm sure he can. But here's the thing that I'm looking for, me personally. Trump was forced into dealing with Vladimir Putin on a largely adversarial basis during his first term, probably to signal to the world that he was not beholden to him. He went really heavy-handed with more sanctions and all that other stuff. And there was a lot of there's a couple of really key face-offs, military face-offs in Syria. I hope he drops that act for the next 4 years. And again, I don't care. And he shouldn't care what the newsroom at MSNBC says. To hell with the FBI, too, because we know that was a big reason why they started spying on him, and they had other little things that they were doing to counteract him. It's because they didn't like his stance, his foreign policy on Russia. They didn't like that he was going to be normalizing some kind of, non-combative relations with Russia. To hell with them, too. I wish that he would say, to hell with all of them, pull back on sanctions, pull back on NATO, and tell Ukraine to maybe not bend the knee, but give it the fuck up. You're not getting your land back. There is no possibility, at least with me as a president, that you are ever going to even be considered or put on a NATO waiting list. And then I would love to see something done. Whatever inquiries were being made in September of 2019 in Ukraine about American politicians and all of their familial ties to energy industry out there, to biological labs, whatever the hell it is, I would love to see some real concerted and serious investigations going on into what the true nature of the Ukrainian government even is. Because again, as we were saying throughout the entirety of this war, wherever the hell it goes in the end, the point that Vladimir Putin has always put forward is that there was a need for neutral countries that border Russia to become a buffer from NATO that was always promised to never be expanding an inch past where they had started. And now with Ukraine being even pro-European and pro-NATO, there is no buffer there. And to even say, okay, the eastern provinces over there, the Donbass and all that is not going to be contested anymore. It still means that whatever is controlling Ukraine right now, which is us, Mossad, it's just an intelligence outpost out there, is still right there on the southwestern border of Russia. There is no buffer. There has to be a real investigation into what kind of puppet post that government is. Because I'm sure that we have hands in a lot more than just Ukraine. But what has been exposed in the time since 2019 is just insanity. Insanity. How can we unsee what we've seen? How can we unhear what we've heard? Not only just the Victoria Nuland, her on tape, essentially cobbling together a government, saying we like him, we don't like him, we like this one, we don't like that one. We know that it's just it's crazy. And I guess Donald Trump can start with his Secretary of State. I think Donald Trump's Secretary of State knows quite a bit. Mr. Trump, start by putting the squeeze on Mr. Rubio out there. He's the one playing, footsie with Nuland. I think he knows quite a bit about what Ukraine really is. That'd be nice. So those are two things for me. I'm going to be watching very carefully how the war is wrapped up, the concessions that are made, and what is made of Ukraine afterwards. What happens afterwards? Because if the whole issue here is that there is an unfriendly, adversarial, Western-controlled puppet state in Ukraine, and instead of something that is at least objectively neutral to Russia's interests, then it's not going to make anything go away. Nothing's going to go away, not far at least. So if we're playing the game of, we're watching the big movie right now, those are the two big movie plots. I'd like to see how that is resolved, or at least whatever else. Everything else is just going to be, I'm looking forward to digging into whatever rabbit holes comes our way this year and having our own little fun. That's all I care about. Hold on a second. Siri, FaceTime Lauren.
Starting a FaceTime call to Lauren Valbureau.
Yeah. Hold on a second. I want to see if the baby's still awake. We can do the intermission video together. Hey.
Hi.
Is the baby awake?
Oh, no. She's fast asleep.
Fast asleep?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I was going to see if she wanted to dance with me for intermission.
Oh, sorry.
All right.
Okay. Love you.
Well, I guess you don't want to dance then, do you?
I don't think anyone wants to see these moves.
What are you talking about? Listen to you, all those years you danced to that gangster rap. All right. Maybe next time.
All right.
All right. Bye. All right, everybody. I was trying to get Lauren to show you her gangster rap moves, but I guess that's not going to happen tonight. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, she skipped her nap today, so it makes sense that she'd be out. She'd be out a little bit early. All right, you know what? Taking this down. Had a couple. Let's see, I missed a couple of calls. I wasn't looking at it. Actually, I missed like 7 calls. My bad. Anywho, I have a guest coming up soon, so let me go to your super chats real quick just to see if there's any. Quite frankly, superchat.com, the Rumble rants, and also the gold pills. We've got Hey, Would You Blow Me on Rumble. Says, WTF? WTF, no intro or intermission? How am I to know when to remove my pants and jacket? I hate this show. Sorry. Imagine my dismay when I'm sitting here and I have certain things that are playing and other things that aren't. I'm so mad. I did a restart, several restarts, and then a dozen restarts of both the audio equipment and the OBS. Forget about it. Forget about it, my friends. But still, We have a great call coming up, and I did a Zoom test, so I know that that's going to work. So that's from Hey, would you blow me? That is the soul rumble ranter we have there right now. All right, on to pilled.net. On to pilled.net. The gold pills. Robert Soren says hello. Send some cans. Hello, Braves Piano. C. Blanche. Boys Blanc. CB Joey says Aurora is so adorable and very smart for her age. Great job, Frank and Lauren. I really appreciate that. I hope we can keep up the pace. Bright Wheel says, Happy New Year, Frank and family and Franklies. Happy New Year to everybody. Stowe Stoop says, great Monday, Frank and Franklies. I like being home on a Monday, especially when there's book club and all that stuff. It's a lot of fun. It's cozy over here. A lot cozier when all my equipment works. But yeah, let's see here. Prairie Fire said, my father and father-in-law, both World War II vets, both POWs, rolled over in their graves with Sonny's statement. How could they not? How could they not? I mean, and again, people who are so uneducated. Sonny Holston is like the face of so many millions into one, who don't have any frame of reference, who don't have any reference of the scale and magnitude of history and the complexities of history, especially the need to make and to impart so much importance onto an event like the rally on the 6th that turned into the what they call a riot. It was riotous in some areas and all that stuff. But again, was it embarrassing day for the country? Yeah, it's hard to watch. Do I understand why people were feeling the way they were to be out there? And do I understand how emotional people can be very, very easily steered by those who have mastered psychological dominance and manipulation? Absolutely. So again, to take that, an embarrassment of a day that was never going to change anything one way or another, but people have a right to show what they're thinking and feeling. Went disastrously bad, but to be so desperate to make that and to sell that as being anywhere on the level as an entire war, World War II, which was a terrible moment for the country. Like, pick a moment out of those 4 years. You absolute, just you. Oh God, they're so stupid. But their audience is dumber. Thank you, Sean Joe, the Sentinel. Thank you so much. Paulie9363, Braves Piano, and Stephen and Lori says, awesome snowball fight at the Capitol today. Really? I didn't know anything about it. Please send me footage. Okay, I'm going to bring on my guest tonight a little bit early because I can't wait to speak with her. Cheryl Daley. Homeschool. She hosts the Homeschool How To podcast. She's been on the show before, months ago in 2024, and now today she has a spot in the just freshly published bulletin that we went through earlier on in the episode. The link is in the description, along with Cheryl Daley's website. Please go ahead and check them both out. Cheryl, it's so great to have you back. How you been?
Hi, Frank. Thanks for having me back.
Oh, it's just another year, and I don't know. I'm excited. There's a lot at our fingertips right now, a lot of possibility.
Yeah, in fact, I forgot that it was in August that I was on your show. I was like, that was nice that he invited me back in just a couple weeks after being on. And then I looked back at the episode. I said, that was like 5 months ago.
Wow. That was August?
Yeah.
See,
time flies.
Oh, yeah, it does fly, because here I'm thinking that it was at least middle of September. Wow.
Big difference.
It is a big difference. I don't know what it is. And maybe it's the same for everybody, because the holidays are the holidays. And I've only ever lived in one part of the country. But there's something about living in the Northeast that it really feels like you're in a wormhole there is no time between Halloween and New Year's Day, it's a blur. I don't know if that's the same for everybody, but definitely over here, it just seems like you're caught up. There's a whole other level of performance to it all in the Northeast.
Yeah, I don't know if we're lucky because we get like the snowy Christmases. If there is snow, sometimes it's 60 degrees on Christmas. So it's really not worth it at all to live in the Northeast if that's what you're going to get on Christmas.
Right.
But then we get a really nice 5 months after Christmas of just frigid cold. And sometimes there's snow, but sometimes mostly it's just ice. You're just dealing with ice. Might as well live in Alaska and not deal with, the government surveilling you all the time.
Are you doing, how are you right now as far as the cold? Because we're in this weird in Westchester where it doesn't matter. I feel like for the last 10 years, we'll get a couple of snowstorms a year, but we'll get the frigid temperatures. We'll get the cutting wind and all that. But everybody around us gets multiple feet throughout the course of the next couple of months. And we are in this strange, wet, cold bubble where we get nothing.
Yeah, you're in the tundra there. We didn't get a lot of snow last year, so it was disappointing because like when you have small kids, that's really the only enjoyment of snow, right? So they can sleigh ride. It's like the only thing to do, especially when you homeschool, is sleigh ride. And yeah, it was just ice last year. So you pretty much just set them up on an ice sheet and they went flying like Clark Griswold, down to Walmart.
Oh yeah,
or Saucer.
That's it. Yeah, with the nonstick cereal varnish on the underside of the disc. Okay, you know what?
Whatever they're spraying Kellogg's with now. Yeah,
absolutely. So let's just jump into this because I have something I want to read with you first before we get into just what you would give everybody as some New Year's pep talks and maybe for everybody out there who is new to the concept of homeschooling for the new year, maybe a New Year's checklist of what to be preparing for. Because again, as you've said in the past, this is not about, okay, well, it's 2025, it's January, it's the second semester of the so-and-so year. This is something you have to play ping pong with yourself in your head, especially if you're me. And it's a very new thing for me and my wife where, okay, you are 7 years old. That means you're in second grade. You're 8 years old. You're in third grade. As you and so many others have really eloquently put, when you're homeschooling, you're building a lifestyle. There is no summers. There is no springs and falls and all that. It's just something you're always doing. And it's, you're almost like trying to settle into the flow of nature instead of trying to regiment every 12 months of a child's life to fit into, these preordained boxes.
Yeah, exactly. And you said it so beautifully. And it's hard to conceptualize if you're like working that 9 to 5 and your kids are going to school or daycare. You're like, well, how does that even, like, what do you do all day? That's what I used to think. Like, what would I possibly do all day? I'm not going to sit there and read to them for 8 hours a day. It's just not like my thing. I have grown to love reading and reading with my kids, but it's definitely something I strive to do more of, but we don't get to it every day. But it is this lifestyle. You end up finding friends in your area that homeschool, and there's always somebody meeting up at this park or this library or doing a field trip to this museum. And it's stuff that I wouldn't normally do on my own or like set out to go, let's drive 45 minutes to this playground. But when someone else is doing it and you're just showing up, I'm like, wow, this is a really cool playground. I thought they all just had swings and, but you're like really, I don't know, just kind of learning about the world around you as far as like the city. For instance, great example. I live near the Hudson River, as you do, and never knew a thing about it. Like nobody ever taught me about the Hudson River in school. And I grew up crossing it probably 5 times a week. And we were on a trip going to the Bronx Zoo. And this lady behind me was like, yeah, the history of the Hudson River is so amazing. And I spent the next couple of months just getting books from the library about children's books, about the Hudson River. Like they make children's books for everything. And I learned all this stuff about the Hudson River and how it actually like started the trade for our entire country, and going from things like, people would just set up by the river because they bring in goods on boats. And then they started getting to, steamboats. And then they started getting to the railroad, which would go along the Hudson. And it's just all this stuff started because of the Hudson River, something I crossed every day, especially working in Albany. I mean, I walked the Hudson every break, never knowing a thing about it. And like, just because someone mentioned it and it sparked my interest, I got a couple of children's books with my son and we started learning about it. And, so it's those types of things that, whether it's butterflies and, how they form the chrysalis, from the caterpillar. And it's all this stuff that you're learning about authentically because it's of interest. And it all just it builds up so that your day, all of a sudden it's 7:00 and you're like, oh my God, we got to eat dinner.
Yeah. And I can see how it really does. That's just it. The days go by and you almost start getting every once in a while, like I said, there's that ping pong match in your head of,
yes.
Oh, did we do enough? Is she falling? She's going to fall behind, or like, and then you say, fall behind what? And everything is fine, and they're happy, and you can see that they're the cognition is up. They're asking better questions, and all of a sudden they're telling their parents, their aunts and their uncles and everybody about the motion of the planets and all this stuff on the road. They're just like throwing things out there that they've been absorbing, and I love it. And now here's what I wanted to bring up, because of course there's still a lot of people there's a lot of challenges for families. Everybody works. How do we find the balance here? Is it possible? It's something I want to do, but I just can't. You're a single parent, whatever the hell the situation is. But as far as people who are just getting taunted by the however you want to call them, these jock riding Department of Education NPCs, I see a lot of these people. They try to instigate homeschoolers on places on Instagram, on Twitter, or something like that. They'll say something like, here's a hot take for you. You aren't qualified to teach your children. And then they'll drop that out there in the open, and they'll get a whole bunch of people pissed off, and they'll just laugh at everybody and say, yeah, you're killing your kid's future by homeschooling this and that. Well, I want to read something to you. This is a headline out of New Jersey, campussafetymagazine.com, and it is nothing compared to what I have covered going on in New York since 2014. Here's the headline. New Jersey teachers, New Jersey teachers no longer required to pass state's basic literacy test. Okay, the teachers are no longer required to pass the basic literacy test. Under Act 1669, individuals seeking an instructional certificate in New Jersey no longer need to pass a basic skills test for being for reading, writing, and math. So here is a little bit of it. We need more teachers, they are saying. And they're saying that this was a pathway to bringing more people in to create more equity in the classroom, because non-white teaching applicants were not passing what were like 6th grade reading level literacy tests to become teachers, to become educators. And this is what we contend with people who think that homeschooling is going to be some kind of detriment to the education of young children. They're fine with cognitively impaired people being allowed to teach children, just as long as they're not white. It is such a crazy. After I read this, I've never felt more qualified. And this is just I don't know. What do you think about this?
Yeah, so I looked into this a bit because you want to not be like the CNN, right? Like, hey, here's a headline, let's run with it. I was like, okay, let's really look into what this is. So the teachers still have to go to college and get into college and pass their college exam. They have to do coursework to become a teacher. But so I get they still have things that they have to do to become a teacher in New Jersey. However, the article says this was a barrier. So I'm trying to think of the scenarios, like, okay, who could become, like, maybe you're a physics professor or a gym teacher. and you couldn't pass the basic reading, math, and writing. So, but still, it's just basic reading, math, and writing. So why did we have to remove this barrier? Who was it a barrier for? These people still had to get into college. So, I mean, I kind of look at it in the conspiracy theory way of like, okay, is this just one step in the direction of more things that they are going to remove? You know, like it didn't make sense to me that they're removing this one test, but yet the teachers still had to go to college and finish the coursework. So how'd you get into college if you couldn't even pass this test?
What happened in college that the end result was that when you got into a state literacy test to be able to go out there and actually get some jobs rolling in, you couldn't hack it. What college was it that they weren't able to prepare you past sixth grade? And you know, again, this is just about those who, I guess there are some statistics in New York and New Jersey that are showing that this had big racial impacts, because this is the only real reason why these unions and everything else will do something like this, because they think that they can diversify, even though the act of doing this and stating the reasons why they're doing this goes to cause so much more damage for those they're trying to help by showing the world that you're removing what you would think would be common sense standards to be able to keep quality up for the children. But it's like it's almost like America's Got Talent and America's, American Idol. It's not really about the contestants. It's about the hosts. You know, it's about promoting the brand of the hosts and all the celebrities that they're bringing in. So that is the working opportunities for the teachers. I think less and less people even care about the product that the children are getting.
Well, yes. When you really look into schooling and the funding behind it and all the tests, yes. I don't think children are their main focus at all. If children are the main focus, it's to indoctrinate them to think a certain way and to become, like I mentioned on the first time I was on your show, become the worker bee that's smart enough to do the job, but not smart enough to question it or become a competitor.
Yeah, I know. So when I saw this yesterday, this is perfect, because we already had so much that we can go to with what you have, what you put in your article for the bulletin. And I love this here. You said this, where was it? I have one quote from you here. I love this part that you said. Homeschooling has allowed us to slow down and let our kids wake up naturally and focus on what truly matters. And then you get into things like nutrition. We create an environment where we can engage more fully with their learning, which often comes from activities like cooking breakfast, going for a hike, playing board games. This past week, Aurora started learning how to play board games and things like that. We got her Trouble and, like Candyland, just learning how to, the instructions, rolling the dice, things like that. And it's just funny you bring this up. And again, it's just one of those natural things. She watches Lauren when she cooks breakfast. She learns how to write and, send letters. She's always working with mail with us. And it's school, everything. It's the school of life. So talk a little bit about that, because it's the phase I hear a lot about. The phase, the number one phase I hear a lot about new homeschool parents is that ping pong game and not seeing teaching opportunities in every little thing that happens during the day.
Well, I think it goes into, just like the article says, why are we educating our kids in the first place? We're so ingrained to just be where someone's telling us to be at all hours of the day. When you're a kid going to daycare and then preschool and then kindergarten and all your grades and then college and then work, someone is constantly telling you where you have to be at all hours. And, when we do have a break, it's like, well, I'm so tired and drained from doing mindless things all day that I'm just going to sit in front of the television and let that, brainwash me some more. So it was kind of like getting into the homeschooling thing was one of those things that happened when I didn't even mean for it to, because I had a whole host of other reasons that I wanted to get into homeschooling. But it was this like looking at life like, wow, I am living it with intention, which before just sounded so, people would say it. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm no master yogi. So like, I don't even know what living with intention means, but it's almost like you get up and you are going to make nutritious foods for your family, which is, wow, it's a crazy thought, huh? Let's find out where our eggs come from or get them from our chickens in the yard. And yeah, maybe not everybody can do that, but there are farms and farmers markets locally that, you can have more than Kellogg's cereal. Boycott Kellogg's. You can have more than Kellogg's cereal for breakfast for your children. And even if it's yogurt with, berries and granola and honey, just things that are not going to like make their brains go crazy all day and then stick them in a chair. But beyond that, I think the need to, like, for instance, my son is 6 right now. This is the age that they are reading in school. His friends that are in public school, they are reading. So, we'll be at a birthday party and I'll say to him, hey, did you notice him reading his birthday cards by himself? And my son's like, yeah. And, other people will say things to him like, oh, I was reading at 6. But, when we sit down to do it, for him to learn, and we've been working on it for years, the phonics and the blending and all of that, phonemic awareness. When it comes down to it, the synapses are just not developed yet in his brain to make those connections. So instead of forcing him to learn it by memorizing, and then having him have a distaste for reading for the rest of his life, like most of us have, it didn't come naturally for me. So I never grew up being a reader, even though I do love to read. But it's really figuring out why do I want him to read at this age? Because if it's just to learn story and vocabulary, I can read to him and he probably enjoys that much more. We're snuggling, or sometimes he's bouncing around the room and I'm reading, but either way, he's hearing the story. It's getting his brain going, his imagination. He's learning new words. It's really getting like the creative juices flowing, so they say. And when I look at other kids his age or younger that are reading, of course you are going to say, oh my God, I am failing as the parent. I'm failing as the homeschool teacher. Like, this is showing everybody he's not learning what he should be at this age. But that's an insecurity in me. And I need to have like faith and trust that the life we're making together is going to be so much more fulfilling. He's actually going to gain a love for reading because it's going to come to him when it makes sense. And when he wants to know something, like little things come up now that he's 6, where he's like, oh, I do need to know what this says or how to read that or right and left or, what this plus that is or this minus that. Like little things are starting to come up in his world where that information is relevant. So instead of pounding it into them at an age where it doesn't apply to them at all, why not let it come naturally when they actually have an interest and their brains are ready for it? And I really think that school does that for 2 reasons. 1, to make us parents feel that we are incapable. Mm-hmm. And 2, because they need something to do with our kids all day long because they've sent us moms and dads to work. They wanted to double the tax base. They scooted us off to work by having us in loads of college debt. So we have no choice really other than to have a 2-parent working family. And, they need something to do with your kid all day. They can't just play, Ring Around the Rosie all day long. They have to set these standards so that it shows that there is something they can measure.
It's very interesting to consider because when you think about a child that is being, is now reading at least, small books, birthday cards at the age of 6, 7 years old, of course. And then you start wondering, well, most people would say, well, why on earth could that ever be a bad thing? Or how on earth would getting somebody to that level quicker than anyone else or whatever, how it could actually end up being a detriment? But I never really, I always try to consider that going forward because I know some people who are really like starting to pick up words at 5, things like that. And again, that just might be natural progression. One individual person, you're just individualizing this thing essentially. How do you know somebody is, the 6-year-old, is he really hurt or put off by that in some way? How do you know if you've actually damaged somebody by teaching them how to learn how to read earlier than they may have been ready to? How do you know when a child is ready?
I mean, I think they'll start asking questions and start, for instance, my son wanted to search for something on the TV. I think he was searching for Garfield last night. And he was like, okay, Mom, how do I spell Garfield? And there's a great opportunity. Well, what sound do you hear it start with?
Right.
So now he has a need to know how to spell something. And I have an opportunity to show him how it applies to his world. And he can sound it out slowly. And, when he misspells the letter, we can talk about it and go back. And not to say that I don't actually I do sit down curriculum with him. I learned from, in the beginning when it was so hard and I was basically replicating school, and he would cry and I would cry and I'd throw a book. And I'm like, I know you're not stupid. I know you can do this.
Replicating. See that you're probably saying things that anybody who is just starting out feels like, oh, okay, replicating school, and telling yourself, no. The whole point is to be outside of that. And, it's a game of fear. It's, you have to be able to break cycles that were put into us from the time we had just gotten out of diapers, It was very, very regimented. 8 hours a day. It was the first full-time job that we had was going to school 7 o'clock in the morning and working. And that's, I get it.
It's criminal when you really think about it. And when you really get into the history of it, and that it was, a one-room schoolhouse up until a little over 100 years ago. But when you think about how long humanity has been in existence, I mean, we've gotten by that many years without the institution of school. So like the formal institution of public education has only been around about a century. When you think of the thousands and thousands of years humans have made it without that.
Made it and everything else. Made it and everything that we know. Here, this is another part from your writing that everybody really should go out and read. Again, the bulletin is linked inside of the description of the episode. And if you just can't find it, email me and I'll send it to you. And I'll be dropping this link into the chat rooms throughout the next couple of weeks too. But Cheryl writes, education should be about more than just preparing for a job. It should cultivate curiosity, foster critical thinking, and inspire lifelong learning. I used to think ideas like these were just abstract concepts. They felt distant and hard to grasp. But everything changed when I watched my children become captivated by simple questions like, why does the moon change shape each night? Suddenly, we were diving into books, conducting experiments, and watching videos together. That's when it clicked. Kids have different interests at times and unique ways of learning. When you can tap into what excites them and match it with their learning style, education becomes fun, engaging, and even a little magical, and you get to witness their joy firsthand. And yeah, I've seen this, I've experienced this, and I've also experienced the flip side where there was just some mornings where Lauren would step out and go run an errand, and I'm with Aurora, and I don't want to just, I want to do a little bit of something constructive with her. So I'll say, hey, you know what? Go grab your flashcards. And then after a couple of rounds through the alphabet, she's not getting one thing if we're doing lowercase or uppercase, whatever the hell it was. And then all of a sudden I start feeling the stress inside of me that I felt when I was doing homework with my parents, and we hated each other. And I hated the thought that she might be getting frustrated with me or scared to get something wrong. And that right there, I couldn't take. And then I started thinking about this. When I read your article, I said, that right there is a doubling, is something that I'm going to be using to reinforce, to keep going in the opposite way and not take this as an opportunity, next time that, Aurora and I have a little bit of alone time and I'm trying to teach her something and it's not really working out at that time and she's not grasping it just yet. My instincts tell me to abandon ship You're not qualified for this. Let a professional take care of it. But again, that is just how we were raised. And if we're going to go and try something new, no, keep going into the other direction, let go more. And that's what I think that's what I've learned from your writing. It's really a fantastic piece. I'm glad it's in this bulletin.
Oh, thank you so much. That means a lot. But yeah, so you're not wrong because you feel that way. You want to teach her because you care about her and you want her to have a good future. That, there's nothing wrong with that. It is just going through this sort of deschooling process where we have to like undo all the damage done by so many years of being indoctrinated, basically. So what I would suggest, and I'm better at giving advice than taking it myself because my kids would probably be like, Mom, why didn't you just do this with us? But we have a couple of times. But when you have a few minutes with her and instead of flashcards, why don't you say, Aurora, let's race who can find the letter A on something in this house. And I'm going to look and you're going to look. And then whoever finds it first yells A, and that's the winner of that round. And then you go on through the letters, because then you're bringing like fun to it and excitement. And, that's a great way too, to bring up like the capital A versus the lowercase a. And sometimes it's in cursive and sometimes it's in Times New Roman. And, that's really the hard part, getting all that stuff. But the best thing somebody said to me, I believe it was on one of my episodes, was everything your child needs to know to be successful in life, they can be taught in their high school years. Everything before that is just for play and fun and imagination. So that really stuck with me because it's like, okay, if they want to be an engineer, everything they need to know about engineering, they can learn from age 14 to 18 and beyond. If they want to know how to read, there are, what I was going to bring up earlier, countries like Finland, where they don't even begin to teach kids how to read until age 7. So it's, letters aren't even thought of before that. And they actually have much higher test scores than, we do in America. Hard to believe, huh?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's turning everything into kind of like a little game, or just abandon the flashcards altogether and say, let's just bring out your dolls. Or what do you want to play? Do you want to play a board game? Do you want to play with the dolls? Do you want to run around the house and find, letters and numbers? Or I don't know, just sit and tell me about a dream you had, or let's read a book. And then you'll find that even just reading a book, there will be something on one of the pages that sparks a question in her. And then you guys can elaborate on that. It's more just like learning this authentic style, which I never had. And I feel gypped. I feel like I graduated college, 4 years of college. And I was like, I know nothing. I don't even know. Like, I remember a 6-year-old telling me when I said, oh, look, there's a cocoon. I think a butterfly will come out. A 6-year-old was like, butterflies come from chrysalis. And I was like, wow, I didn't even know that. And then, so that just kind of snowballed on.
If a 6-year-old told me that, I'd say, who the hell do you think you are? I'd say, who are you? Where the hell did you come from?
Oh man, I don't know what she's doing these days, but probably, I mean, she wasn't homeschooled, but it was just funny that I went to school for that long. And when I look back at school, I think about sitting in a desk or sitting in line or waiting for the teacher to come in, waiting for everyone to be quiet for attendance, waiting for so-and-so to go to the bathroom so that, we can begin the lesson. And it was just like a whole lot of waiting and so much wasted time. This beautiful childhood that we have, where even if all you're doing is sitting outside and on the swings, they're robbing us of seeing the beauty of nature and getting direct sunlight and grounding with the grass and seeing colors and breathing in air, just to sit in a cement room to learn what?
I think more and more people are contemplating that scenario on the children's behalf. What environment are the children in? And obviously, if they have a couple of really, 2 or 3 really close friends, and they're on a sports team, and they're kind of just that part of their life is healthy, then I guess they feel like that's the best thing, and it is a good thing to have friends and all that. But as far as the daily routine, when you say being robbed, I think that it is such a larger statement that goes beyond what is happening to the child when all their time is being dominated by the regimentation of American schooling in particular. And that is what we as parents are being robbed of as well. Our time, our money, how we're being taxed into the poorhouse, how there is really, for so many parents out there who see a problem with American education and don't want to be able and do want to have options outside of all that. They don't have that. They don't have the option because it's all hands on deck. So when you were talking about, being robbed, it's a big thing there, because it's not only just a child that is in a lot more of a socially restrictive environment, a naturally restrictive environment with the way the school's set up. It's also a family that is being robbed of time together. Many families are being robbed of time together because how everybody has to go out there and bust ass, and you got to pay your bills. You got to do it. So it's a very profound statement there that goes well beyond the snapshot that is the day-to-day routine in school.
Yeah. And parents are being robbed of witnessing these little light bulb moments in their children. I mean, that is just such a beautiful part of life. And don't get me wrong, I scream at my kids all the time. I was just like yelling at them now, like, get in the basement, I have a podcast. But there are so many times in the day that I'm like, wow, I would have missed this had I been sitting in my cubicle in Albany in my cement walls while you guys are at daycare and in first grade. And I'm not claiming to know everything, but I've interviewed homeschooling families for 2 years now, all over the country, even, Australia, Canada, and from the ones that started in the 80s, back when it was like, you couldn't find another homeschooler.
Taboo.
You'd have to beam up the Batman light or something to find another homeschooler. And now they're everywhere. But to people that, are just starting out and like, wow, I'm quitting my job. And what speaks volume is the amount of teachers that have been on my podcast to talk about how they left their job to homeschool their kids. And that just speaks volumes to me, because the first teacher reached out and I was like, wow, this is like a crazy, breaking story. Teacher leaves job to homeschool kid. And then it's like every week another teacher emails me like, yeah, I left the system. I wasn't going to put my kids in that. And who knows the system better than the people that are in it? So, I mean, those episodes just always make me so confident in my decision to homeschool. Because I started the podcast like, should I homeschool my kids? I don't know. I really kind of think they'll resent me that they missed out on prom, but it's gone now that I've talked to all of these families. It's so far beyond that the prom and the homecoming, the football team, they're all just these little carrots that are dangled. But what are they robbing you of in the meantime? I
know. Yeah, I think about my prom, and whenever I think of my prom, I think of the concert that all my other friends were going to that I should have went to. I don't know. I guess some people had a really great time on prom. It was no Dawson's Creek moment for me, but I just want to really tell everybody again. We have this wonderful article here. Why do we educate our children? By Cheryl Daley. There she is, picture of her beautiful kids right there. Lauren and Aurora were actually just reading Let's Talk Emergencies today on, they're just doing that today because Aurora picks out books that she wants to be read. And that was one that she picked out today. So we were talking about just, safety protocols and who to trust and 911 and all that. But as a little bit of a parting shot here, Cheryl, what would you say would be like a top 3 New Year's checklist for anybody who is out there, first timers, anybody who's looking at a brand new set of months of the year, and they are, they just want a little bit of a pep talk or maybe a couple of fresh ideas to put out there for the next 12 months, and maybe even an idea or two for veteran homeschoolers who hadn't thought about some fun activity or something.
Yeah, I think we concentrate so heavily on curriculum that, again, we're ingrained to think that we need to follow a curriculum. And a lot of times it's helpful, but a lot of times you can just roll with life. So getting books out of the library based on the season that you're in or a holiday coming up, maybe try just putting the curriculum to the back burner for even a couple of weeks, just to kind of get a fresh start on, rejuvenate the family. Maybe get some board games. We just got a couple awesome games for Christmas. One called Double Shutter. So it's like a math game, but my son is in love with it. Skip-Bo is a love. We love Skip-Bo. And that's great for teaching the kids counting and strategy. It's like Uno, but like on drugs. And, there's just so, like you were mentioning before, a Monopoly. There's kids Monopoly. They're learning money. There's so many games out there. And there's actually something called game schooling where they learn everything just through games. So that's been another cool part of the podcast. So I would say set the curriculum aside, jumpstart with like just family time, get some books from the library. There are great book lists. Read Aloud Revival is a woman who, she just has free book lists, and I use an app that I order the books from her book list, and they actually get delivered to my library and I can go pick them up. So it's like someone smarter than me has vetted these books, that they're good and they're good literature, but they're also just really good books that you'd enjoy, your kids would enjoy, and they're learning a little something about history, this sort of living book aspect where it's something that really happened in life, but they put a story around it with context. And it's just a beautiful way to learn. And the Tuttle twins, their books are always awesome. So really teaching about liberty and the government and just our independence and things like that, the Constitution, our rights. So I would say put your formal curriculum away and just concentrate on family togetherness time, and you'll be shocked at how much you actually learn.
I love the whole, I just wrote that down over here, game schooling. That's great. That's great. I want to find more stuff like that. That's wonderful. Even little things are always been getting more and more into tic-tac-toe. So just from a cognitive standpoint of just seeing patterns and, blocking somebody else's move and things like that. And I'm sure math will come into that. And like I said, she started playing Candyland this week. Just being able to learn your turn and rolling a die and counting your spots and all that. It's a good place to start for a 4-year-old at least.
And it's fun when they get to the age where you can actually do like an activity and you're interacting with them in like kind of an adult way. And they feel like a sense of like pride that they have this role to play. I have to try to win. If they beat dad or they beat mom, they feel pretty cool about themselves. And try to be a depressed kid, when you're beating dad at Candyland. It just, doesn't happen.
It's going to be more so for me, whether or not I can control my competitive urges, is to let her win anything. But I'm going to
have to let her win. She will. Candyland is not something you can let or unlet.
You're right. Candyland and the game of life, they're just going to teach you lessons. It's going to humble you. So I think I need to keep doing this because I need to be humbled myself. So anyway, Cheryl, this has been fantastic. Your URL is in the description of the episode here. That is the Homeschool How-To podcast. That's also linked.
It's just the homeschoolhowto.com, though, if you're going to the website.
Right. But yeah, the homeschoolhowto.com, but you host the Homeschool How-To podcast. That is also linked directly through the article you just wrote for the bulletin. And we gotta keep doing these little check-ins here, especially maybe quarterly, just to see what's going on. All the different things that homeschool parents are doing seasonally, because I think even just people who still have their children in the school systems might find it interesting to go out and see what other families are doing on the weekend, or to go out and mix it up with other people who are may just look like a day at the zoo, but it's actually school. And I think that'd be nice, just to find people these little openings in their personal life to explore something new for parents and for children alike.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me back. I would love to come on anytime you want.
Oh, that'd be great. And our mutual friend Charlie is going to be on with me tomorrow night, so make sure you're watching that.
Yes, definitely.
All right, everybody. Cheryl Daley, read her latest and also get to her website. Check out her books. She really is a fantastic person and a great resource. Thanks again, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Okay, there you go, everybody. Well, we have very little to do now. Very little to do with only 5 minutes left. I have to get ready with the book club. And I just want to go and make sure I have gotten all of our super chats out of the way. And we have one in here on quite frankly superchat.com from Jay Britz, who simply says, Frank, that's me. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. On Rumble, I think on Rumble we have a couple more ranters. Guns and Rosies says, show us your moves, Lauren. I think it's because she's in her bathrobe right now. And I don't know. I think it would have looked better. I think her moves would have looked better if she was comfy in her bathrobe. Maybe she'll scoot around sometime for everybody. But Aurora, if she sometime soon, hopefully I have this all figured out for tomorrow, though. I'll be back in Studio A for tomorrow night's show, though. Jay Semo says, I want to homeschool our granddaughter. Great show. Well, it's really the only thing for me is going to be dealing with New York State and reporting requirements and all that. So once I get that down, I'm going to feel really good. Because I think that the one thing that my childhood has prepared me for is ignoring my parents when they make comments about anything I'm doing. So I think that's where the biggest criticism is going to come from my parents, and that's fine. I'll just tap into teenage Frank that is still living deep down inside somewhere. I'll tap into teenage Frank and just not give a shit. And that'll be that. That'll be that. All right. And thank you to Doug Simmy and Sean Joe and CB Joey says, Mike, who cheese stinks. Mike, who cheese stinks? The hell does that mean? Sometimes, you guys, I don't know what the hell's happening. Oh, we don't even have an outro. So what do you want me to say? That's it. Thank you for the evening. Thank you for all of your wonderful company. And for those of you who are monthly sponsors, I am going to be go right over to the link that has been sent to you either through email or posted directly to Patreon and Subscribestar on the Quite Frankly pages there. If you are a monthly subscriber, paying subscriber through pill.net, then look in your DMs. It'll be there. Book Club, Session 1 for Fahrenheit 451, which is going to have some really big gems that have to do with tonight's episode. Just so happens. I will see that. Hold on. Oh. Hold on a second. Let me go back to that pill now. Mike who chi stinks. Oh, Mike Coochie stinks. Got you. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Lauren. Yeah, okay, so CB Joey. What the hell does he mean? Well, I was late on that one. It's just when I have something going on technologically, my mind is aloof. I'm elsewhere. But I won't be tomorrow. We'll be all in the right place. Have yourself a great night, guys and gals. Take care.